So I wasn't really surprised when I read in the papers the other day of a Japanese gentleman by the name of Mr. Aizumi, who was celebrating his 114th birthday. But that's nothing to Lead Hills, where they've got an exceptional record. Ah well, great morning for a walk here in Lead Hills, one of the two highest villages in Scotland. And here I am, using a stick in this wee slope. You must think I'm getting past it. But this fine old piece of blackthorn belonged to an extraordinary man by the name of John Taylor. Extraordinary? I'll tell you why. At the age of 116, he went out fishing up in the hills there. He went away up 2 burns to fish, and it came on snowing, and it got heavier and heavier. It became a really wild blizzard, and old John was beginning to get a bit concerned about getting home. He was 116 at the time, remember, and there was something that he had to consider, and that was to leave his rod and his stuff and beat it over the hills, which he did. Only he didn't quite make it. A search party was made. John was found alive. He revived fine, and the first thing he did was went back to look for his fishing rod. That man lived and worked in the mines until he was 127. And at the age of 128, he lived 2 miles down the road. He walked up the road, visited his children and grandchildren, and walked back again. Well, John Taylor was a miner from a very early age. He can remember, or could remember, the great eclipse of the sun, the total eclipse in 1652. The only man who could do so in this village, and he used to love to talk about the Mirka day, when he was called up out of the mines because birds were falling out of the sky. Day had been turned into night. Now John Taylor is buried over the wall, and I want to see his grave. Now, where are we? Here, what's this? In memory of Thomas Weir, overseer to the Scots Mining Company, died 11th April 1852. Reading your own gravestone. Ah, here we are. The headstone of John Taylor. It says in the grave, John Taylor, aged 137. Well, people around here say that that isn't true, that he was a mere youngster of 133 when he died. And why I've got this stick is I'm hoping that some of that benefit will rub off on me. You know, at the age of 128, a year after John had retired from the mines, he lived 2 miles down the valley then, in a thatched button ben like most of the folk here. He walked up the valley to visit his children and grandchildren and walked back again. And it's said that latterly, after he retired, he used to feel the cold a bit. In the really cold weather, he used to go to bed and take a glass of brandy occasionally to warm his stomach. I was shown this place called Gauskers as the place where old John Taylor finished his days. A grouse moor today, and amongst the heather there you can see the outlines of old John's house. Now, Mrs. Jenny Kay, you've a rare old story about John Taylor. Tell me it again.
Well, they say when he was 100 years of age, he thought the Lord had forgotten about him. And he asked his friends to take him up to the top of the highest hill, the Green Lowther, and leave him there, which they did, beseeching the Lord to remember his faithful servant and take him into glory. But the Lord had other ideas, so his friends had to go and bring him home again, where he lived for other 33 years.
To 133?
Yes.
Well, he saw a lot of changes, and if some of this good luck of that stick rubs off on me, I'll see a few myself.
I'll see you will.
Let's go to that cup of tea. Fine.
Right.
I brought up an old boy, John Taylor, and he had a grandson who became a mine manager, so there was good stuff there. A man, John, in his prime at 90. Well, there's hope for us all in that. There's a lot of other names about here. Long before John was a mining man, they were taking out a lot of gold. And one man who's remembered is a man called Bevis Bulmer. He's remembered in Bulmer's Moss. He made over £100,000 in gold. He had 30 men working for him. But he died a poor man. He was knighted for his great work for the country, and he died in debt to the tune of £340. He must have been living it up. And then he was followed by another man who was mining gold and did very well. And this man, George Bowes, he fell down a mine shaft and was killed. So it looks as if you should stick to lead, and one great miner is remembered. That this boy who was born here in Leadhills 6 years after Allan Ramsay the poet died,